Hello, everyone. My name is Terramore Miller, and welcome to our Consciousness Evolution System. This week, we are going to tackle part 4 of the 4-part system. We might have a 5th part that has some illustration to it, or other parts that have illustrations to it, but this is the 4 main parts. If you haven't watched those videos, I would suggest that you pause this one and go watch those because they have really important tie-ins to this one, so basically you won't get lost. So what will we be doing this week? This week is what I would consider a very important part of our existence. It deals with spiritualizing matter and materializing spirit. Now, if you're not familiar with the esoteric part of spirituality, you may be wondering, what is that all about? Well, here are some of the terms you might be more familiar with. You might be familiar with the fall, or fallen angels, and then salvation. You might be familiar with the descent and ascend. Some of those are the terms that we have used in different places. Some cultures will have different motifs or symbols that they use. For instance, you might see one where it's the wheel of time. You may also see the snake eating itself. So that's why, in order to go through this, is really sort of important to go through some of the definitions that I'll be using, and what's the difference and what are the different assumptions between one part of the spirituality versus the other part. And as you know, what I'm trying to do here is really to compare how the Western Christianity is compared to the ancient texts that we have. One of the first things about the rise and fall is that this is not about heaven and hell. In the Christian book, it will tell you about heaven and hell being outside, but in all the other texts, heaven and hell are actually inside of us. The other part is we are here. We are all here, and whether we know it or not, our soul is guiding us home. It's taken us from where we are at this stage of our development to where we need to be. So it's guided us home. Then we have to figure out, so where is home? Why are we here? What are some of the things that we are supposed to do? And what is this salvation all about? It's the soul's journey that we are a part of. We are here, a part of that journey that the soul is going through, and this is the one that we are cognizant of. The other ones, we aren't, because the process is made in such a way that we forget things as we move through the different kingdoms. So what are the different kingdoms? The different kingdoms that we can observe are the mineral kingdom, the plant kingdom, and the animal kingdom. So currently, we're a part of the animal kingdom, and we can recognize the other two. Whether or not our soul is tied to any of those, we don't know. We aren't privy to that information. So I've mentioned a few times about forgetting or remembering. What is that all about anyway? When we look through the line of forgetting, we say, okay, we forgot something to get for spirit to materialize. So when we talk about materializing spirit, it's where spirit itself then says, okay, we are going to go into this kingdom, and this is going to be the animal kingdom with this exact person that you are watching it, and I'm here seeing what's going on. Okay? A couple different things that's called. It's called a spiritual veil because certain things that the Hermetic principle calls called reason were stripped from us. And we'll be going through those to see what those are. So it's called a spiritual veil. There's also the word soul trap, where we are trapped here. A big one that we know is we are in the matrix, right? Another one could be where this is a challenge for us. I tend to prefer the fact that it's a challenge based on everything that I have read and learned about the process of getting here and what it is we're here to do. So to me, I think it's more of a challenge than any trap or illusion or anything like that that might come with some form of a negative connotation. So in this video, we will be talking about enlightenment to salvation. It's the road to redemption. It's transcending our physical being into spirit. So what I like to do now is let's look across the different traditions as to what are some of the general idea that these cultures give it. On screen, you will see the chart that shows Genesis, the Corpus Hermeticum, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Lankavatara Sutra. Each had what you would consider the trigger for the fall. So the trigger for the fall in Genesis, that represents Christianity. That's the one we know of most. And that trigger was actually eating the fruit. And that, in an esoteric term, means the desire for something. We were tempted into wanting more than what you would say we currently have. The Corpus Hermeticum expresses the same thing about desire. But the desire there was actually love for Source's creation, and Source came to join us because it will say we are gods ourselves. We are also stars, right? We are youngsters of the divine. And so this love is what caused the trigger to be here. In the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about sensation to the human body, the sensation to reality, and how that is what we're attracted to. And the Lankavatara Sutra says it's our inability to perceive that this is duality. So each of them give us almost the same thing. They just call it something different. So what was the mechanism of that descent? In Christian faith, it's the disobedience. It's the realization that we were not in the same place that we thought we were. That's where that first illusion comes in. Oh, wow, now we're somewhere different. The Corpus Hermeticum talks about the different veils and the different governors or archons that strip reason from us. Side note, that's the one that I'm going to follow because it has the clearest definition of exactly what it is that was stripped so that we can follow it to understand how then we are going to ascend. The Bhagavad Gita, it talks about blinding the soul, not letting us realize that this is a delusion. You know, we are doing things from the perspective of an individual as opposed to a collective perspective. And the Bhagavad Gita really emphasizes the fact about disassociating us from ourselves into something where a collective is what's more important. And the Lankavatara Sutra echoes almost the same thing. It's about that misrepresentation of what reality really is. So we get to a point where we are looking at reality, but we're not looking at reality or what we call reality as what reality truly is. Let's see if we can try to bridge the gap between our current understanding of what this rise and fall is to what the other cultures actually depicted as. So on screen, you'll see the chart that represents the names from the Roman perspective and the Greek perspective. And then we have what's the purpose of each veil, what's the psychological challenge it offers, and then what are the esoterical qualities that it has. I am going to use the Corpus Hermeticum and the 7 rulers or governors to explain this, because I think going through those 7 will give us a better understanding of what are the things that we need to do, because they're separated, and it's really separated that much better for us. So let's get started with that part. So veil number 1 is time. The Greeks called time Chronos, while the Egyptians called time Saturn. Okay, so the rings of Saturn is time. And so the first thing that we have to do in coming into this reality is to distort what time is. So we are a prisoner of time, and we are going with time as time travels. We do not have the ability to go across time as yet. But that's the first thing, that's the main thing that we have to do. So this teaches through discipline. It repeats itself. It's lessons that we'll have to do over and over again. We can't just snap our fingers and have the lessons pass or anything like that. So it really teaches us a lot of discipline. With that comes fear and guilt and judgment, because in our mind, we have a limited amount of this time in order to do what it is that we're supposed to do. So with that limitation and the loom of death there, then we're always stressed out in order to try to beat time, right? In this existence, that's not something that we can do. So time is the first veil that happened to us. The second veil is to insert a belief system. A belief system is something that is so ingrained in us that it will take an enormous amount of pressure in order to break that. Now, I know other people who, the other ones, they have been able to understand or break apart from a lot of those different ones. But the belief system that's ingrained in you, it's really difficult. That gets ingrained in you from birth to about 12 years old. And unless you're of a certain mindset, if you are there from 12 to 21 and you're fully indoctrinated in it, it becomes almost impossible for you to break that belief system. And so that belief system, it perpetuates what they call dogma. It's information. It's stuff that you're told that you should just believe that that's how it is. No experience, no understanding. And a lot of times the dogma and the reality seems to be apart from each other and may cause some confusion because it's a belief system. It gravitates or it pulls at your morals. It pulls at the laws that are happening. It pulls really at your inner being. So if you are going to break that, we are breaking ourselves. And that's one of the hardest things for us to do. Next, we have Aries. This is the god of war. So it's Aries and Mars. These are gods of wars. So here we have conflict. We have anger. We have deep passion and aggression. This is where that feeling of fear gets fueled. We want to hold on to things, and we are very protective because a lot of war has to do with the passion that we have behind things and how protective we are of the things that we have. And love actually does that, because when you love, you want to hold on to something, you want to protect it, and to protect it, you may have to defend yourself with different things. Next, we have the sun god. The sun god is dealing with everything from the heart. It's an illumination of self. This is where your pride and your ego and your will and the stuff that you do that you really feel the first passion about. This is also where love is. It's your own identity to different things. And so in that area, now you're starting to recognize who you are and some of the attributes of your own self, right? We have gone through some of the other ones that deals with the bigger part of system, but now this is dealing with you. After the sun, we have Aphrodite. This is where the drive for attraction comes in. It's where we have our vanity. This is where we have things that we love. Again, but it's with beauty. It's now love attached with or to something. It's the sensation that we have with it. It's all the different feelings that now come with this. So now we are starting to sensationalize our own existence. And this is the feel good part of it. Next, we have Hermes or Mercury. This is where thought, thinking, and this is where we exist 95% of the time. We exist more in our thoughts than we experience in our body. And thought is what it is that drives a lot of the other stuff that happens. So now we're given thought to discern where we are right now. Thought is a part of that trigger that is supposed to help us to then move through the system later on. And of course, that comes with, intelligence, and it comes with the ability to go in multiple different directions. So this is where we say we can have trickery of the mind. I'll also like to say that if it becomes either overwhelming or challenging and you'd like to reach out to have personal one-on-one on how this really affects you as an individual, please do so. Reach out so we can be of help in any way we can with this, because your individual way of processing this information is really different from anyone else. As much as I try to give the information and let it be general and the general information for everyone, the way in which you are going to apply this into your life will be a little different. And so you might need some specific information or specific understanding on what certain things really mean. So please be sure to reach out so we can continue that part of the conversation. Now back to the video. Last, but most certainly not least, is the moon. This is Selene, the goddess that helps us with imagination, with instinct, with certain parts of our emotion, the habits. And so therefore, that is what then drives the illusion. So we start where we're given time as a prison. Then we have the illusion as the trap. Or that's the illusion of life. So life becomes an illusion while time is the prison. And in between those, there we are trying to traverse this existence. So now let's see if we can tackle some of the real underlying meaning behind these 7 rulers or 7 archons. And so I want you to imagine this. When we were being created, we had all these veils one by one put on top. So first we're going to have that veil of time. Then we're going to have the other veil of belief system, where we're saying this is how it is. Nothing is going to change. Then we're going to have the veil of protection and anger, and being able to defend ourselves, being able to understand what conflict really is. And we're going to be able to have the veil of where, well, we can still love. We have everything that comes through our heart, but it's going to be attached to ego and our virtue and our personal identity. Then the next veil is that attachment itself, because we need to feel as if we are here with something. So we have that attachment. That's us. So we have that attachment. Then the other one is the veil of thought. My thoughts are different from your thoughts. Your thoughts are different from everybody else's thoughts. The moment we have that, now we have something where we can differentiate ourselves. Okay, and so we have that as a veil as well. And that's a trickery. That's a trick to say that we are not connected to the universal consciousness once we believe that. So we are veiled there. We have to take off and be given individual thought as opposed to just one. Then the next and the last and final one is the illusion of self and who we are. This really breaks us off from everything and all the other observable kingdoms or unobservable kingdoms to us. All the other things that we are actually a part of. We can't remember anything. That's really one of the parts that takes off the remembrance from us. That's the final step to get rid of it. So with these 7 rulers, let's look at some of the ways we can now try to approach these 7 rulers in a different light, in one where we can utilize their essence to let us be better in this 3D. Because at the end of the day, us being better through this third dimension is really all we are responsible for. That's all we are responsible for. Now the veils are there, but the veils are something that we are supposed to be able to go through. So they're not historic. They're not mythical. These are things that happen to us every day, every time. So they're moment by moment occurrence. So we have to be really careful and conscious about the fact that these things are happening. If we're also conscious of the fact that these were placed here for our challenge as opposed to our punishment, then we might approach them differently. So the moment the soul realizes that this in itself is not what's real, but it's a reflection, then we've started to grow. We've started to understand what it is that we're supposed to do. We realize that we're not separate. We're actually one unit. And what we are doing is we're using all these seven governors to then remember, which is put things back together, right? To reassemble the entire parts. As I said, it's not a punishment. It's an experience. It's necessary for us to forget so we have deep understanding and remembering as we go through. The Gnostics call this gnosis, and there are other words for other experience through action that are mentioned. And in all the texts, they always tell you that you can think about things and stuff like that, but action is really what is going to cause a difference. And action is the worship. And I think I pointed out the real meaning of the word worship last time, which is work in stewardship. Okay? It's that action. If you don't take the action, you're not worshiping. And you don't worship by just going somewhere once a week and then letting everyone see that you show up and then believe that is going to be able to save you through the process. And so these governors aren't tyrants. There aren't things that are there that is, again, trying to punish us. They're not tyrants. They're really there trying to help us. So as our soul traverses the entire galaxy or cosmos of all the different kingdoms, it's going to go through these. And we are at the cusp of, it's almost like we're at the end of the trial, or we are in the end of that journey. And it's really able to understand a lot of the different things that we go through. If you think about it, we are able to do all these different things that not a lot of the animal kingdom can do, or the other dimensions can do. So to me, this is actually a great place to be, and for us to accept these challenges as they come up. So in essence, those are the things that the seven governors are there for, and the fact that these governors placed veils or limitations or cap on us for these different parts, and now it's our responsibility to then break those in the reverse order. So it was started with time and it ended with illusion. So the first thing we have to do is get across the illusion, right? But before we get there, here are the correlation for Bible verses or parts of the Corpus Hermeticum, the Bhagavad Gita, and the Lankavatara Sutra that refers to each of these systems for the different governors. So I use First Corinthians chapter 7 here for the Bible, because it's amazing how when you put this in an esoteric form, it has all the different meanings in here. And so this section by itself could be a whole nother video explaining where these are coming from and what it is that they truly mean. But what I want to do here is just to show you that all these different texts at some point or the other speaks about these governors, speaks about these archons. Now, as a side note, if you are truly interested in understanding how this fall and rise really takes place, and what are some of the things that we need to do with it, go ahead and read the Corpus Hermeticum, specifically the Pymandery. That section goes through all this for you, and it lays it out in detail. Maybe one of these days I'll go through that and put it to English. I was going to read parts of it, but it turned out to be really dicey trying to read it in that Old English or converted English from the different languages that they try to convert it to. Also, I'll be going to Ecuador to celebrate the fall equinox this September 20th to the 25th. In the description below, I'll have all the information on that as to where we are going, what we're going to be doing. And so if you want to join us, I would really love to see you there. So head down in the description below and it will give you all the information on what's going on for this Ecuador trip to celebrate the fall equinox. Now back to the video. Let's go ahead and spend some time on how do we traverse the matrix? How do we escape, if we want to call it an escape? Or how do we utilize it as best as possible? So on screen, you'll see each archon and how they limit us, what they're trying to teach us, and how we transcend with these. Now, we started out with time and we ended with illusion. In order for us to break through, we now need to go in the reverse order. These are psychological challenges that we are placed here to go through. So all of us are going to go through these challenges one by one. Depending on how much or how well we embody these challenges will show us whether or not we have passed through them. And don't be mistaken, some of these challenges will come back up even after you believe that you have gone through it. So the first one here is the moon. It's the illusion. It's this that we're talking about. If you are in a system where it says this is not how it is, that you don't recognize that this emotional cycle is of a cycle of forgetting, that we are going to be doing this over and over, then the limit that has placed on you has not been lifted. So until that limit has been lifted, then we can't go through to the other part. Now, when we realize that, okay, we're going to be doing this over and over, and there's no bad judgment at the end if we get it wrong, then you can start to be self-aware. You can start to work through your things. And you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to take this first thing that I have, and I'm going to work on that. Let's say I want to work on the fact that I gossip a lot. Okay, that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on the fact that I get angry quickly. Well, you know what? Anger is further down, so we can work on that too. So you take one of these things and you start to recognize that this where we're at is an illusion, and self is considered an illusion. And it's the reason it's an illusion is because you're able to change it. It is not unchangeable. You are able to change yourself each time. So that's really where the illusion comes in. After we have gone through the fact that, yes, this is an illusion, and yes, there are things that we can change, then comes us breaking away from our attachments. So now we have to detach. So we can't over-rationalize anything. We have to be more clear in our understanding of the facts that are around us. And the facts that are around us may not be in terms of the facts that we heard before. So now we have to start to dig for different things. We start to seek out actually stuff like this that challenges some of the things that we used to hear. So we haven't eroded our belief system as yet. We're just starting to figure out and to transmute our thoughts into something where we are going to think about them a little differently and be a little wiser on how these things are done. So it limits us by that over-rationalization of where we are. And we hear this all the time, where when we talk to someone about something like this, they have all the rational discussion as to why this is incorrect, which makes sense because we still haven't gotten to the belief system as yet for that to be eroded. Now we go through to Venus, and yes, this is also a part of the attachment and the detachment that we have to go through. But this is the detachment to something. So now we're attracted or attached to something that we love, to people that we are concerned about, to the things around us that we are in harmony with. And so it's really hard for us to understand how to do that. However, this gives us the opportunity of unconditional love. Love where we are not tied to the reception of the love or the receiving of the love, or what it is that that person that we have shown our affection to is going to do. It's starting to tear away from some of those expectations. Then comes us having that fight with the ego. This is a part of us that's really protective, because through here we have had the ability to say, I know who I am, I know who you are, I know who the other persons are around me, so we are separate. And this separation gives us identity. It also lets us be able to be creative within ourselves, be our own individual, right? This is the individualization that someone like Carl Jung talks about. So how do we then get over that? Wow, this is where surrender comes in. This is where, when you realize that, well, you weren't the one that was doing all these things. There were other forces at play that is more in control than we think we are. Because at the end of the day, we only control maybe up to 10% of the things we do. There are so many different things in the background that cause us to do the things that we do that most of the time we are unaware of. This is why there's the school of thought that there is no such thing as free will. So in order to understand this, then we have to surrender ourselves, surrender to the higher calling, surrender to our higher selves or source, and start the process of understanding what that is. Now, I've just gone through 3 or 4 of these in 5 minutes, but this is 30 years of understanding. So you have so many different things, so many different aspects that we have to tear down at each time that it is known that it's going to take time. What I'm doing here is just giving you general information. I'll also like to say that if it becomes either overwhelming or challenging and you'd like to reach out to have personal one-on-one on how this really affects you as an individual, please do so. Reach out so we can be of help in any way we can with this, because your individual way of processing this information is really different from anyone else. As much as I try to give the information and let it be general and the general information for everyone, the way in which you are going to apply this into your life will be a little different. And so you might need some specific information or specific understanding on what certain things really mean. So please be sure to reach out so we can continue that part of the conversation. Now back to the video. Up next, what do we have? Well, now we're starting to reduce the conflict, the anger, because we are releasing some of the things that we attached to physically or attached to emotionally or in our heart. We are now getting to the point now where we can start releasing some conflicts because we no longer have the need to justify certain things. We no longer have the need to say, hey, here are the things that I need to defend. You are wiser. You have a broader vision of stuff. You start having a certain understanding where you can allow even things that we consider to be, I guess, bad to happen, because we realize that everything has a purpose and the universe is not asleep at the wheel, not at all. When we're starting to live our life in that section, then miracles happen. Now, we are here for miracles to happen every day. Miracles happen to us whether or not we believe in this or we don't believe in this. Whether or not we believe in Christianity, Judaism, Buddhism, Zoroastrianism, or any other of the other ones. Okay? We are here and we are a miracle machine, and miracle happen to us every day. We don't need to be going to somewhere specific in order for that to happen. Miracle is our birthright. Then comes us trying to break down the belief system. And as I said before, this is the hardest part. But we can do this because after we have gone through this, breaking down the belief system, that's going to be so easy to do because you're no longer looking at this from just an intellectual perspective. You're no longer looking at this from an emotional perspective or from an egoistic perspective. All those things have been cleared. The dogma of everything has been cleared. So breaking down the belief system, which is held together by dogma, you've already started to remove some of that. So your wisdom is broader. You are more wiser with different things, and your understanding of what reality is getting clearer. So now you're seeking direct spiritual experience, direct experience in silence, in how it is that the quiet mind brings together the spiritual aspect of things. When we start to be here, we are releasing a lot of the worldly things that we have gone through. Because at this point, yes, we are at that stage when those things aren't necessary to us anymore. So it's really easy to do. And one of the things that I do like with this is that the recognition that even in one lifetime, we have the ability to slowly go through this carefully. So, if you practice the 4 states of health, then health, which is the body's natural state in all 4 conditions, will take you all the way through to here. Then you can practice the 5 guiding principles. The 5 guiding principles is in here. It's about unconditional love. It's about freedom of choice. It's about being able to give thanks. It's all these different things that we have. It's in here all the way through. So once you're living like that, then it's easy for you to then move through the system. So the system is set up in such a way that it makes you successful. It's whether or not you are going to believe and understand that this is the system instead of something else. Now, this is why I also have the 3 most important aspects of our 3rd dimension, because within our the 3 most important aspects of our 3rd dimension, you will recognize how to maximize your own gift, your own talent, because that's one of the illusions, especially in 1 Corinthians 7 that I put on here. One of the illusions is the recognition that we all should come as we are. We all have our gifts, but our gifts are also veiled because all those other things are on top of it. So we have to get rid of those in some form. We don't have to get rid of all of them for a part of that to come through. And that to me is a very enlightening way to go through this. So once that's done, then we have Saturn, we have time, and we realize, yes, we're able to do this multiple times, and this might not be our last. And if it is, congratulations to you. I wish you the greatest of archangels singing and triumphant release into your space of abode. But if it's not, and we're coming back again, let's come back where our soul has grown from one thing to the next. And so when our souls grow onto the next level, that is the essence that it will bring back the next time. The essence that it will use to then continue on another journey. And we won't be going back all the way to the mineral kingdom. So we now we have built patience, we have built detachments, we have now built understanding and the expectation or the acceptance of that limitation of time that we're in. And we're comfortable. We are aware of what it is. And so in itself, we realize that it's not a prison. It's not an illusion. It is something that we ourselves volunteered to go through in order to help the soul go through its entire journey. Okay, guys, that was also a long one, but hopefully at the end that we were able to point out how this really works and the benefit of understanding and working through this system. So this is the final part that gives you the entire system as it is. And from here, what we'll do is dive into specific areas that then challenges us or figure out how it is that we can work through the system on a daily basis, right? Let's get this tangible. Let's bring this down to earth, as they say. Let's put this into our own lap where the rubber meets the road, or in the driver's seat, whatever phrase you wanna use in it, we can do that. And so this is where, if you would like some assistance and you want to work with us, feel free to drop us a line and get the information for doing that. We have the other part of the system, that helps you through your determines, as we call it, right? It was a Terry mind state. It's how to understand thoughts versus your mind versus your brain versus your heart, and the role each of those play in going through these 7 archons, because they all play a role in there. And then the other part you can work with us is, how do you be happy traversing this 3rd dimension specifically? This one that we're in. How do you find out what your talents are? How do you find out what it is that you will love to do? What is your medium of exchange? How do you earn? How do you share? Okay. It's not something that I can tell you what it is. We strip out all the other stuff that's not there, and then we figure out what's left. What is it that is your true art? And with that, I would love to say thank you very much for going through this entire journey with me. Thank you very much for all the likes, the shares, the contribution, the bookings, and all that has happened. You know, these are timeless messages. So whenever you are watching this, hopefully this will be of great benefit to you. So until next time, please join us on our journey. Like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our other videos. Please drop us a comment. Let us know what you think about what you're hearing, or how does this resonate with you. So until next time, thank you, namaste, and take care.